Go into BeatStars thinking, I'm buying an unlimited license for this much money, right? And he's stolen part of the beat and he wants 15% of everything the song has ever made. How can we get a response? Okay, we'll take his video down, issue a copyright strike, which also, I didn't actually violate the contract. I'll be recreating Sickboi, the beat, remade without Kujo's input on it.
Oh man, so many things here. So Ren and Kujo are both messaging me right now. They both want to come on this show so that they can discuss their legal battle. I think that's going to be extremely interesting. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe right now. And leading up to this, Ren released his side of the story. And we're going to be reacting to Ren's video today. Now, if you don't know who I am, hi, I'm an entertainment attorney. I specialize in music law. And this channel is dedicated to music business education and helping you guys to understand how to navigate situations just like this. We are definitely going to get Kujo's side of the story, but let's start with what Ren has to say on the situation.
This is a video that I never ever really wanted to have to make, but it's very important for me that I do. All the time, artists all over the world pour their souls into their work, and that work is tainted by money or greed. A lot of you will have been asking me the question why Sickboi has disappeared now, as well as YouTube on streaming services. It's a video that was very close to me. It's a video that told my story about my health. It's a video that told the story of many other people who have been gaslit by the medical community. It's a story of greed in the music industry, ironically, funnily enough. It's also a song that I poured tens of thousands of pounds into for a music video.
And just for quick context, if you're new to the situation, I did another video when this whole thing kind of was first happening. But, you know, essentially, Kujo is a beat maker and he has his stuff on BeatStars, which is a very popular platform for licensing beats. And so Ren licensed at least this one beat from BeatStar, which is for his song Sickboi. Now, there's a whole bunch of wrinkles in this that he's going to go through, such as an alleged unauthorized sample that was in Kujo's beat, which has now resulted in a bunch of problems, but that's a quick summary of where we were at.
For promotion, it was also the leading title of the only #1 album that I've got, so I was very, very proud of it. And we'll no longer have that song, guys, and I want to go into the reasons why. Also, I do recommend sticking around to the end of this video because I've got a very exciting announcement about all of this that relates to all of this right at the end. People who have been following me for a while, they'll know the sort of person I am. They know the principles that I have, and they'll know how I treat other independent artists. So they'll know why it was so important for me to have to make this video. And I want this to be as unbiased as possible. Obviously, I'm emotionally affected by it, and that may leak in, right? But I want to share entire clips of these conversations so there can be no doubt. Also, if Kujo and his girlfriend want to share any more screenshots of those conversations, I encourage them to, because I believe that this should all be public knowledge so there can be no doubt. Rather than taking people's words from it, I would like them just to see transparently what has happened here. To give context for all of this, back in 2022 I buy a beat from BeatStars, right? For anyone who doesn't know, BeatStars is a platform that connects producers to artists who need beats. I do produce most of my own work, but I wanted to find some hip-hop beats for inspiration. What I would usually do is buy a beat, arrange it slightly differently, tweak it myself, add my own vocals, add my own layers and stuff like that. I find this banging beat, right, from a producer called KujoBeats, which I buy an unlimited license for. This is all very important to keep in mind for later on, right? I buy an unlimited license, which means that I am able to put it on all streaming platforms and get as many streams as I want, and all recording on platforms like YouTube.
And if you saw that in the overlay, it said that one music video as well, right? So following this, I did a review of a few of the BeatStars licenses, right? And I go, what are you artists agreeing to when you license these beats from BeatStars? And so we went through that full analysis and had some frustrations, including about just the reality of what happens when you license beats on a limited term. So that if you happen to have a #1 song or a #1 album, right? All of a sudden now, there is a term limit of when you got to go back and get a new license, because it says it's only for 5 years, it's only for 10 years. And so that's one of our frustrations with these platforms that kind of set you up to fail.
After I do this, I send my YouTube guy that I work with, and I send the publishing team an email just giving them a heads up, being like, yo guys, I bought this beat, they need to be registered correctly, content ID needs to be turned off. I'll put a clip of that. I'm putting screenshots of those messages here just in case Kujo claims I never did this. I did do this. I also went the extra mile and messaged the team and said, look, we need to credit him on Spotify credits and stuff like that as well, because sometimes artists don't always fully credit producers. I think that I forgot to do it in the YouTube description for like the first month or two, and then I updated it, and then he was fully credited the whole time, right?
Content ID, that's very normal for licenses, right? So producers out there, you want to make sure that, you know, not everyone is registering the same song with Content ID. It creates all kinds of copyright conflicts. So that's number one. Number two, having it specified of credit, you know, if that's the right of attribution. So to have someone say, I am the producer that did this thing. And then I don't know if this is a claim that Kujo is making, that you failed to credit me somewhere, and so therefore it's a breach of the contract. We'll see what Ren has to say on that.
That was just a lapse, because there was a lot going on. I was in Canada treating and stuff. But anyway, he was credited fully, like, very soon in everywhere, and as far as I was aware, registered everywhere, so I don't think anything of it, right? Also, in the BeatStars contract, it says very clearly that the person selling you the beat has to own the beat, and if they
here, and in fact, let me move my bubble so we all can read in the back.
If there are any elements of the beat that he doesn't own, he has to let you know. This is very important to remember for what is to follow as well, right? So yeah, I think there's no problems. I buy the beat, I record a song, and this is before.
Okay, so just going back to that for a second. So it says, producer will not have any kind of sampling in this beat that Ren is using. Important point.
Things have blown up with my music, so I'm still pretty underground artist at this point. I record the track, put it out. I even get a message from him at some point, which is also important to remember because of the hypocrisy of this whole situation. Just like, wicked, I love the track. Okay? Remember that too. Before I begin, I just want to add this. I have no problem with BeatStars. I think they're a very innovative company who actually help people make art, which I'm very, very passionate about. I think the contracts and the things you're getting into could be clearer, because we're now in a situation negotiating older tracks bought from BeatStars. I would love to talk to the if anyone from there is watching, I imagine they will be at some point. I would love to talk to the CEO, founder of BeatStars, face to face. Just because I want to understand how something like this could have happened, and I want to understand why it escalated the way it did, because from what I've heard, he's someone who cares a lot about artists, and someone who creates a platform like that, I think, must be very passionate about music. I'd love to chat to you if you're listening, and I'd love to figure out why this happened and how we can stop things like this happening in the future. I also think that there needs to be a bit more stringent checks on if people are selling unlicensed samples, because then things tend to get a little bit sticky like they have here. Anyway, that's it. I have no problem with BeatStars, because I'm not interested in going to war with them, because I think that it's really cool that there's a platform like that exists for artists and producers to be connected. Just thought I'd put that out there, make that clear. Right, so I arrive home from Canada after a 1.5 year long treatment of treating brain damage and autoimmunity, which a lot of you will know if you've been following my journey. And I'm expecting a nice 2 weeks with my mates before I do my first ever solo show in 5 years because of my health. So I'm just like, I want a nice chill time. I want to be able to focus on rehearsing and stuff. Very early on, I wake up to a message saying, yo, your song Sickboi has been taken down. So I look at it, and sure enough, it's been copyright striked from this guy KujoBeats' channel. And initially I'm like, oh, this just must be some automatic fuck up. So like, I don't take it too seriously. I send him a message like, yo, there must have been a technical error or something here. No response for 2 days. So I'm like, what's going on? So I check his channel, and then I see a comment of that beat that he licensed me, and I see a comment that's like, Ren has left me no choice. I'm sorry that I had to do this. And I'm like, okay, so this was intentional. Like, what? Like, the last conversation I had with this guy was months ago, with him being like, yo, big up your work, it's sick. So I'm like super confused about it. So I send him another email like, dude, what's going on? Again, I get absolutely no response. So I put a comment in his YouTube comment section, and I'm like, bro, I'm trying to get hold of you. Why are you ignoring me? Like, I just want to resolve this amicably. What's going on?
All right, taking a quick beat. So there was a DMCA takedown notice filed, right? So copyright infringement takedown on the video itself. And so immediately, me as the copyright attorney, I'm like, okay, was there actual copyright infringement? Because so far, it kind of sounds like he's talking about contract stuff, right? So was there an alleged breach of a contract? And if that's the case, filing a copyright takedown notice is usually not the appropriate remedy, but let's keep going.
Finally, I get a response on Instagram, and for the sake of this video, I'm just going to put all of these responses in their full form so that there can be no doubt as to what happened. I'm just going to read out like the key moments and explain the key moments. But if anyone's like interested in deep diving so there can be no doubt as to what's happened here, feel free to pause it. If Kujo and his girlfriend, like I said, feel like I've left anything out, they are welcome to post it. I have nothing to hide about this situation. So he responds and he tells me that he's been talking to my lawyer for months, which I have no idea about. I've been in Canada. And he seems like quite a nice guy initially. So I'm like, okay, maybe this has all just been a misunderstanding. I remember even saying to like Connor and that, I was like, this has probably just been a misunderstanding and something's gone wrong here. Don't worry. He seems like you're all right, dude. We will sort this out. But then after that little exchange, I noticed a comment in the YouTube comment section on his video saying that I'm lying about the situation, when I thought that we like on the same page here. So I pull him up on it and he's like, oh no, I didn't say you were lying, when he clearly did. That should have been like the first red flag for me, but still giving him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, okay, maybe another misunderstanding. Anyway, so I contact my lawyer to find out what the hell's happening, because I'm in the dark about all of this situation. And he explains to me that I've been sold a beat with a stolen sample, with an unlicensed sample, and that the Bulgarian choir sample owners had chased him and gone, look, you've used this beat without permission, you've used this sample without permission, and so you need to give us 50% of the publishing split. And what my lawyer's done, because we were sold a beat in good faith and it wasn't actually cleared, he's reached out to Kujo and gone, look, I think you need to absorb this for selling this.
100%. So this happened to one of my clients in Universal, right? The song, independent artist, song goes viral, and it contains a sample from the producer who created it that my client then licensed the beat from. And so now Universal is bringing down all hell on my client. And so we have to go back to the producer to say, you have to indemnify, you have to pay for the attorney's fees, you have to deal with Universal. But here's the thing, when the producer doesn't step in to do what's right, to deal with that situation, then the artist is still left to deal with what's going on, because you know what? You had the hit song that's making all the money now. And so everyone's coming out of the woodwork. Okay, so then to recap though, we have then the owners of the sample who are coming and they're saying they want 50% of the publishing, okay?
In bad faith, basically. And they've gone, no, we're not going to absorb that. And then it's escalated, and I think because my lawyer was being slightly slow with the responses, they also, keep in mind, I don't know any of this is happening right now. To get my attention, they issue a copyright strike on the video, which affects my YouTube channel, by the way, and the video gets taken down as a form of leverage, which is a bizarre way of dealing with things, I think, because it would have been a good idea to contact me, maybe, like anyone first, if this was getting so like blown up.
Yeah, and so it sounds like maybe from Kujo's standpoint, there's been a long period of time, whatever that is, that's gone by. He's been, talking to the lawyer's not being responsive. Unfortunately, like, be careful of who you select as your attorney. I'm sorry, like, a lot of lawyers do this and they're just too busy. Well, if they're too busy to respond and to safeguard you, which maybe this could have been dealt with and there wouldn't have been a copyright strike and all this stuff. I don't know enough about the situation, but just to say that I know that attorneys can be really slow and you need someone who's like on it. But going back to, I dealt with a copyright strike from Splice because I was putting out stuff they weren't very happy about and they had no copyright grounds to file the copyright strike, but it seemed like they did that to just try and silence us. And so using a copyright infringement tool through YouTube to deal with other legal problems is not the way to do it, but also, under at least US law, it's actually against the law to do that. Music Attorney is your #1 legal resource for artists, producers, and record labels. Get contract templates, one-on-one legal advice, free master classes, and everything you need for your music business. Go to topmusicattorney.com.
Like, maybe the lawyers, maybe Kujo could have actually reached out to me, the artist. Nobody did. So I found that a bit bizarre. Then I read another comment that Kujo's posted, calling me a coward to pay the royalties he's owed, and I'm like, what royalty? That's also, in my head, the publishers are just paying him the money, and now the situation has to change until everyone agrees on it. But I wasn't even privy to that conversation about what a fair split should be yet. So I was like, what? I don't owe this guy money. Like, there's no master splits on the BeatStars contracts, by the way. So all money that comes in to Kujo, which should be paid to Kujo, rightly so, comes from the publisher. which is nothing to do with me, by the way. I explained this so many times in this conversation.
Yeah, and so for those of you who are like, wait, how does that work? Real quick, the way it works is that if in the country that you live, you have a publishing company that represents you. In the UK, it's called PRS, which is the Performing Rights Society. But basically, when you register the music for performance royalties, you just designate who needs to be paid, and then that organization pays everybody. But that is not the master's earnings, so meaning from music distribution platforms. Those are two different things. So what Ren is saying is that pursuant to the license that he got, there was a percentage that was supposed to be paid from the performance rights organization, but Kujo is not entitled to anything from the actual song on music platforms.
He's adamant to say, probably short of like 50 times, pay me my money. I am nothing to do with his money, right? So it's a very bizarre thing to keep saying, but I try to explain that to him patiently, never really takes it in. Anyway, he calls me a coward on this comment, so I pull him up on that. This actually starts to then rub me up a little bit. So I'm like, I pull him up on that. It's saying like, the hell, like, cowardly? Anyway, I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt at this point. Despite this, I feel like he's probably just misinformed, so I still take his side on it, and I go on to reassure him he'll get paid his publishing money because I want him to get paid his publishing money. Doesn't affect me in any way. So like, I was like, yeah, I'll chase it up for you. I let him know that I'm happy to split publishing if there's a bit of a grey area, and I'm kind of reassuring him. It's really important to remember this, by the way, guys, because some of the lies that are posted later make me out to be really unreasonable. So I'm like, yo, if there's some simple mistake, let's split the publishing. It's cool. I'm happy to do that. Yeah. So he comes back to me and lies more. He says, it's always up to the performer to clear the sample. It's not. It's up to the producer. But unless there's been a conversation. But in this case, as you can see, we're willing to make concessions for you to get your fair share. So actually, it's me making the concessions here because he sold a stolen sample. And I'm like, you know what? You can still have some publishing split, right? So like, I'm actually being the one that's being quite reasonable here. And he's flipped on his head like, we'll be good to you, you know?
All right, so I want to be fair. At this point, this is my understanding of the situation. We have potentially a breach of contract claim from both sides. Kujo has a breach of contract claim. He is saying, pursuant to the license, you were supposed to pay whatever percentage of publishing to me. And then I think this goes back to why Ren was showing the screenshot. He's like, I emailed my team and I told them to register, right, the music, I'm assuming with the PRO, right? So whether that happened or not, I guess maybe we can assume perhaps it didn't happen because Kujo's saying he hasn't received any money. So Kujo says breach of contract. And then on the flip side, well, there's a contract that says Kujo was going to provide a song that did not have any unauthorized samples in it. And he didn't do that. So Ren also has a claim for breach of contract.
But I've done nothing wrong in this situation. And then he says, I was under the impression you would have received a warning. I had no idea that the video would be completely taken down. Another lie, as you'll see soon. He and his lawyer agreed to take this video down as a form of leverage. It was our only possible negotiation tactic to get a response. Maybe message me.
Oh boy.
They're scratching their head. How can we get a response? Okay, we'll take his video down, issue a copyright strike, which also, I didn't actually violate the contract. Not intentionally. So the only possible tactic, dude, message me, send me an email. Like, you've messaged me before to tell me that you love my work, so like, send me an email about this. He says he also wants to wrap it up immediately and get the song back online. Another lie, as you will see later on, because he decides to stick to his guns and use the video as leverage. Anyway, the plot thickens. I get an email from their lawyer. I'm not going to share it in case they start claiming I'm sharing things I'm not supposed to. But I get an email and it says, on top of the publishing split, they want a £3,000 payment, right? They want a 15% retroactive split of the master, which has nothing to do with publishing, which means like 15% of everything the song has ever made since it came out, retroactively. So since it's come out to this moment and then into the future, when I've paid for an unlimited sample, unlimited license beat, and with that you're talking money from record sales, you're talking money from streaming things, you're talking all of that when they haven't put any effort into promoting the song. He's made a beat and he's stolen part of the beat, and he wants 15% of everything the song has ever made for.
See, and this is where I would be very interested just to hear Kujo's response to this, right? Because here's the thing. As a music producer, did he know? I mean, he got the sample from somewhere. Did he understand about copyright laws? So it would be interesting just to get his take on it, but taking all the things as true, Ren additionally has this claim for the copyright strike, okay? And like I said, pursuant to US law, if you file a copyright takedown and you do not actually have a copyright claim, the person who receives the copyright takedown has the opportunity to then seek their damages for the false copyright claim. Now again, I don't know if there actually was some kind of claim about copyright infringement. So far, it sounds like it's just breach of contract claims. Either way.
That plus the £3,000 advance. Out of principle, I wasn't going to give him that. But because like may have been slightly open to negotiations if they hadn't used the song as leverage and actually treated me like a decent person. I hadn't put like lies about the situation. But out of principle, I wasn't going to agree to that. And also to clarify, when I've been in rooms with producers and we've made a song from scratch, I've done a lot of like 50-50 splits, or I've done like 25-75, or with other collaborated artists, we just agree on a split that's like 50-50, 25. So, like 15% isn't outrageous, right? What's outrageous is that they already sold it with an unlimited license right from the get-go. So you go into BeatStars thinking, I'm buying an unlimited license for this much money, right? And I was broke at the time when I bought that beat. So it's like, you go into the situation buying something, and then later on down the line, it can come back and sting you if they go, oh, this slight thing, well, we found a loophole here, which means that now you owe us all this money, right? So it's like...
Well, okay, so taking Kujo's side here as far as the claim of you owe me performance royalties, the claim would be you just need to do an accounting. How much were you paid from your performance rights organization? I'm entitled to whatever the percentage is that we put in our agreement. But now what Ren is saying, he is alleging that as part of the negotiation, Kujo and his team were asking for 15% of the master's earnings. If that's not in the contract, then they do not have the right to seek this payment. So I just did a quick conversion. So £3,000 is $3,780 US dollars. So about $4,000. So they're seeking essentially $4,000 and 15% of the earnings from the actual master.
It was kind of unfair because say you buy a painting off somebody for £10 and then the price of it rises exponentially because maybe the painter dies or something, or he becomes really popular. You don't then just go back to the person you sold it to and go, oh, that painting's worth like 20 times more now, give me a bit more money for it, because the transaction's been done. And that's kind of how I felt about the BeatStars thing. It wasn't about me losing money, it was about the principle of like, we've stepped into this agreement and I was in full faith thinking I was buying an unlimited sample, but that's unlimited license, sorry, but that's not actually what's happened, is it? Right? And it says that if I don't agree to this, they're within their right to claim 100% of the song because I have breached something in the contract, right? Now,
oh, 25%.
This is what I breached.
That says 25% of the master.
Apparently, Content ID was turned on the track, okay, on YouTube. As you'll see from my earlier on in this video, I actually specifically requested Content ID was turned off, and my YouTube guide did turn it off. There has been something to do with the distribution where somewhere along the line, even after I specifically requested this, it may have gotten turned on at some point, right? Where this doesn't actually make any money, which we've got proof of, because I actually let reactors, I let content creators monetize their own videos where they're reacting to my songs. I've done this since the start because I believe that everyone should get paid. It helps promote me. I'm not losing out. Everyone's a winner. A rising tide lifts all ships, baby. So, like, they're using this as leverage, but legally, but thus is the world. They actually had something to lean on with that. So they were like, look, if you don't agree to these terms, 15% retroactive master split, this share on publishing, and a £3,000 advance against the master, we're going to take 100% of what you own. At this point, I'm obviously pretty annoyed, which is pretty understandable, right? Anyway, at this point, they've got my attention, so there's no reason they need to use the video for Sickboi as leverage, right? So I give them a fair warning. I'm like, mate, if you don't put the video back up on Friday, I'm going to have to put a public post explaining why it's down. And I give him a fair warning, which is also important to remember, because later on he plays the victim, saying that I've put a post encouraging my fans to bully him, which I didn't. I gave him a fair warning about it. I never once encouraged them to bully him. I just needed to explain why my video was down, because this was proper stressing me out, and I feel like I didn't want to be silenced about the whole situation. The time comes around, I put the post out, and I'm always still thinking for like a positive solution here. So I have like a brainwave of like, oh, I've got a brilliant solution, right? So I approach him and I'm like, dude, look, I know that things got complicated here, but out of principle, I don't really want to budge on the master split for this thing, but I've got a much better idea, because a lot of my fan base are like now giving him, because I put the public post out, a lot of my fan base are giving him grief, and I'm like, you know what, I don't want this guy's life to get ruined because of this. Like, despite how frustrated it's made me, I don't want this guy to get ruined. I don't want him to get abused about it. I just wanted to get the song back. That was the thing. So like, I sent him a message. I'm like, dude, look, I thought of a thing, because I am a man of principle. I didn't want to bend to threats and stuff about the song being claimed 100%. So I'm like, I've got a much better idea. Let's make a song. We'll split it 50-50 down the middle. Master, publishing, everything. A song from scratch. Then if we do that way, it'll be like a fuck you to the industry, yeah? You and me on a track. You'll make way more money this way because it's 50-50. You'll also get my fan base on your side. It's going to be a great thing. Because I'm always like, I want to look forward. I don't want to look backwards. I don't want to look at...
Here's where this is a great suggestion. And I say this to clients. I'm like, everyone has their attorneys and everyone's paying all these fees and no one's going to win at the end of this. So what creative solutions can we come up with so that we do new business together? We get this kind of squashed and figure it out. And so the solution actually makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like this wasn't taken, right? But equally, part of the problem with these situations is that the person who didn't get paid thinks that there's been millions and millions of dollars made, like just big numbers. And it's like, what are you hiding? Why, haven't you disclosed how much you made and how much are you not paying me? Or sometimes someone can get greedy and they go, well, now I want all this additional stuff because I think that there's going to be a longer tail end of this, and that percentage I'm going to get on masters. And I can't speak for Kujo, right? But typically that is kind of what goes into this one way or another. Now, equally, if Kujo's claim is that, well, you didn't do the content ID thing and you didn't pay me, both those are a breach of contract, well, then he would be entitled to pursue those claims. But again, I go back to, so far I haven't heard anything about there being a valid basis for filing this copyright strike. And, 3 strikes, you're out. You can get your entire channel deleted with just a few strikes, even if they're fake.
All these things that happened in the past, I'm like, this is actually going to make him even more. And he rejected it. He turned it down, which I still think to this day is a bit of a silly move given what happened and what happened next. But it's a shame, man. And if you're watching this, you really should have taken that. I'm sure you are watching it. You really should have taken that deal. It was brilliant. Not only would it set you up with way more money, which is obviously what you most care about in this situation, but it also got loads of my fans on your side, which would also set you up for all things that you release independently as well, and you'd have come out this looking good. Shame. I offered you that olive branch. I offered quite a few olive branches on numerous occasions, which you weren't interested in. Then after that, there's a post on Instagram saying that I've stolen samples from people. Which is bizarre because I never have. So I send him a message.
Has nothing to do with this situation.
He said that a British artist has got in touch with him and been like, Ren steal samples, which is obviously complete made up bullshit, right? So I messaged him about that. I'm like, what samples have I stolen? The Vera Hall one that I just put out, totally cleared. We cleared that with publishing company because I actually don't steal my samples. And then any covers that I've done, they're just on YouTube. You're allowed to do that because there's a cover license on YouTube. So what are you talking about? To which he then just ignores it, takes the post down, and then and then just goes on some other fucking tangent. So it's kind of grasping at straws here to make me look like the bad guy. So we
cover songs on YouTube, US law, you actually have to get a sync license for the video portion, not for the cover song that's put on music platforms, but for the video portion. But he is right that most of the major labels that own the majority of the music catalog have done deals with YouTube so that instead of going and striking everyone's videos and getting everything taken down, they just go and they monetize your video, but it does have to be a true cover song. Is there a list somewhere of what songs are okay? No. So it's still kind of this gray area, which is very frustrating for creators.
Arranged to have this call with the lawyers and Kujo, and I'm actually really excited to have the call because it's the first time I can talk to Kujo face to face, deal with this lawyers. Like grown-ups, like adults, and talk to each other. But it's not how it pans out. So we get on the call, and the first thing that happens is the lawyer just says, look, Ren, I think that you taking this public was very unprofessional. And I was like, hold on a second. I wasn't the person who took this public, first of all. Taking the video down is an aggressive move. And also, I didn't take it public, first of all. Kujo was commenting countless things on his YouTube before I even made the comment. Calling me a liar, a coward, a numb. So, to say that I took this public, nah, I just responded to what happened and then explained to my fans while the song was down. Those posts are still up for everyone to see. All the posts on his comments are still there for everybody to see. So first of all, it was kind of we got into it straight away with me having to be I put it straight and then everyone was like, okay, yeah, fair enough. The funniest thing about that call is Kujo was on it. He did not say a single word. Even when I addressed him with questions, his lawyer would interject and go, I can answer that. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to talk to the person who's like an adult. I want to talk to this person.
Just so you guys know, typically there are ethical rules depending on the country that you're in, but at least in the US, there are strong ethical rules. Attorneys who are representing certain parties can't reach out to the other side's party and like have a little conversation, okay? Not okay. But the parties themselves, so meaning Kujo and Ren, they can have a little chit chat as much as they want. And quite frankly, half of the time, it's better for actually resolving the issue, because sometimes attorneys are the ones that make it frustrating. They're the ones that aren't responding. They're the ones that are being unreasonable or advising their clients to be unreasonable. So having these more like, we're having a little mediation conversation can be fruitful. And if you want to see Ren and Kujo on this channel, drop a comment down below and let me know you're here for it.
There's even a moment when my lawyer's like, look, I want to address this question to Kujo. Do you actually feel like this situation is fair? He says nothing, and the lawyer interjects again. So for that whole call, which, took about half an hour, 40 minutes, he didn't say a single word. And I thought that was disrespectful. Given the circumstances. He later claimed that it was because he doesn't legally know enough and it should be between the lawyers. But no,
I can understand that.
Like, regardless of your legal knowledge, we can still have a conversation like adults. Like, I'm not here to try and like intimidate or anything like that. I want to talk to you like a grown-up.
I don't know. Was Ren intimidating on this call? I wasn't there.
And that didn't happen. I wasn't afforded that luxury. I was talking a fair bit on that call about how I felt about the situation and what I felt was right. And I also said on that call that I didn't think that a retroactive split was right because of all the reasons I've mentioned, but it is what it is, man. And then we came off the call and I felt pretty let down by it, to be honest. This is where the plot gets even more ridiculous, and I'm sorry this is a long video, guys, but this is mad, and this is emotionally exhausting, this bit. So I read a bunch of comments on Instagram from this person talking about the contract, saying things that aren't actually in the contract. I'm like, who the is this? So I message him and be like, yo, by the way, you're misinformed. The contract actually doesn't state that it's on me to clear the samples. Then I click on the profile, I realise that it's Kujo's girlfriend, so I immediately unsend all those messages, because to be honest, look, he was getting grief from my fans, and I think to myself, you know what, he needs someone supporting him, even though that he's been an arsehole. I don't want to like start messaging his girlfriend and shit, whatever. I'll leave her out of this. But she sees that I've unsent the messages, and she instigates the conversation, says, have you done an oopsie? We start chatting for a long time. We'll put those messages up so that you can read it. It actually ends up being, it seems to me, like it's like semi-amicable after a while of talking to each other. Like you can pause this and read this if you want. It's like basically the long and short of it is like she feels like Kujo's been misrepresented and feels like it's a lot of the industry's fault, my lawyer's fault and stuff like that, which is kind of what Kujo feels like. Right?
Don't get a girlfriend involved, man. She's gonna go in for her man.
Right. She then threatens to break my kneecaps, which a bit out of pocket. You know me, I laugh about it. The thing that rubs me up about things like that is if that had been the other way around, I never actually once got violent about this situation. If that had been the other way around.
All right, so threatening even is it's just not needed. And when these things become they usually become childish at some point with just very underhanded comments, privately made, then to actually getting aggressive and hostile and making threats, and that's not okay.
They would have been like, Ren's such a violent, later on they would have been like, Ren's such a violent person, or using bully tactics, because they've spoken about like how I'm using bully tactics by simply talking about the situation publicly, transparently. She also gaslights me by saying, like, imagine what would have happened if he had mental health issues. I have a very long list of mental health issues. I am the person with mental health issues. You're not considering what it does to my mental health, are you, when you take down a song that means that much to me? A song that I've poured into, that I'm exposing a part of me that's very vulnerable about my health journey. Like, you're not considering that, are you? All I've done is post publicly about the situation. I've never told anybody to send you guys abuse or anything like that. And actually, if anybody's watching this right now, for clarity, even though I am very annoyed about the situation, I don't want anyone to send them abuse. I don't. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm annoyed about the situation, but it's done now. The song's down. It's gone. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I'm not trying to ruin somebody's life over this. I'll have my own form of revenge, as you'll see at the end of this video. But I'm not trying to ruin anyone's life over this. So, like, if they say to me that I'm trying to incentivize stuff like that, I'm not, guys. I don't want you to go and abuse them, right? But it is up to me to talk about this situation fairly. So, like, we seem to make some middle ground. She's even talking to me about like her ADHD and knows that I've got ADHD, and like, you know, maybe we just got. So I'm like, you know what? She seems pretty level-headed, right? So like, cool. You know what? Maybe these guys are. It's just a big misunderstanding, and we can figure a way to amicably sort this out. And I say to her, look, yeah, I'm happy to split the publishing, but I don't really want to split the master out of principle because I bought this, right? You know, but. Then at this point I start being like, you know what, maybe I'll split some of the master for the future stuff just to get this out of the way, even though I don't believe I should because they've stolen the beat with a stolen sample. I'm like, if this just gets this over the line, I'm happy to split the future master. I even say that in the email thread to the lawyers and stuff, right? So I'm like, I'm conceding a little bit here because I just want this situation done with. We end on a good note in this conversation. Then the next morning I wake up to posts from her all over my Reddit lying about the contract, and then I see a comment on Anthony Ray's video where he's talking about the situation from her, saying this is what the contract says, and she made up she wrote a whole passage that wasn't even in our contract. It was completely made up. So after her being super nice to me behind the scenes in this conversation and feeling like I wake up to read this, and I'm like, I start losing my mind because I'm like, these guys, they're like, they pretend they're on my side, and then it's just like they publicly post all this stuff. So I'm like, I pull her up on it. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, first of all, this is defamation. You can't be out here like making up stuff that's not even in the contract, you know? So she's like, yeah, it's ridiculous. Right, so next I find a bunch of messages on Reddit from Kujo's girlfriend lying about the contract, which I'm going to put up here, which is actually very illegal, by the way. No, I won't be pressing charges over it. I just want to get this situation out of the way, but...
Yeah, and so in the civil claims, what can he claim against now? Someone else, right? So if she's saying something that is not true, it is false, then defamation, slander, libel, and you can also get into business torts. So interference with business opportunity, interference with contractual relations, and so just being like, the stuff that you are doing is basically making this even worse and causing me more financial damage. Does it make sense to actually go after someone, right, and file a lawsuit for something like this? It just totally depends on the situation.
So I'm just going to put all these up for you to pause and read if you want to. It's ridiculous, basically. She also says that I was obviously upset, so I wasn't the most cooperative. As you guys, if you skip back in this video, you'll see I was extremely cooperative when I found out what was going on. I was being very amicable when I was trying to offer Kujo solutions and being amazingly supportive and sympathetic. I refused to fully acknowledge that a mistake on my end causing Kujo not to get paid was at the heart of all of this. It wasn't. A stolen sample was at the heart of all of this. Yes, the publishers, right, failed to correctly register Kujo, which wasn't anything to do with me. They've now remedied that, and there'll be a back payment for whatever percentage we end up on. No money.
Whoa! That's huge. That's huge. Okay. So if the publishers, meaning a third party, not Ren's team, okay, if they failed to do something they were supposed to do, then they could potentially be liable, which is obviously why they're like, hey, this is what we're going to do to make it right. But the second piece of they are going to retroactively pay Kujo what is due to him pursuant to the contract, that makes a really big difference here, because in the both sides have claims, right? If Ren was taking the position that he's not going to retroactively pay the publishing share that is entitled to Kujo pursuant to the contract, that's problematic, right? Now there actually is a creative way to address that, but if he's saying that the publisher is going to retroactively pay him, then what is the existing breach of contract once that is paid? Again, why we want to hear from Kujo on this.
No money's been lost here, right? That is something that was the publisher's fault, which I was very annoyed about, which I actually sent a message to the publishers about, explaining how annoyed I was about that situation, fighting for Kujo in that, when I didn't have to fight for Kujo because he was being a prick, right? So I sent that message to them anyway, fighting on Kujo's side, because despite all of this, I am a man of principle still. I kept threatening to sue and go public. No, I didn't. I wasn't threatening to sue. I did say I would go public if my song carried on being used as leverage. I gave them a very fair warning because they didn't need to use the song, the video as leverage, and they kept on doing that. That was because I kept getting hundreds of messages a day from my fans being like, where's the video, where's the video? And I wanted to address it all at once. And I also felt like I was being treated extremely unfairly, right? I had to accept by giving up all my shares of the song in exchange for a fixed fee. Yeah, that was between my lawyers. Ren took it in public the next morning. Yes, I did. Right,
Okay.
Let's take this home now. At this point, I've just lost all amicability, right? I'm pissed off. I messaged Kujo's girlfriend and him saying, it's the first time I've threatened to sue, but I'm like, if I see any more lies from you guys about this situation, I will sue you guys. Because it's like, that's my public image. Like,
You know, it's tough because we can kind of see both sides and the deterioration, right? So I think, Kujo might say, basically after a year of like chasing around your lawyer and I wasn't paid, you did breach the contract. And so maybe saying stuff that is not so nice, or his girlfriend going and saying stuff that might not be factually accurate. And then equally, Ren being finally fed up and just being like, all right, gloves are off. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. I'm just like done with this.
I pride myself on the fairness that I show everyone that I work with, right? And my principles. And I'm also very against greed, and I stand against it militantly, which a lot of you will know from my work and how I treat people that I work with, right? So them spreading this stuff that I'm trying to be greedy here massively hurts my public image. So I was like, if you guys lie anymore about this, yeah, I'm going to do something about it, basically. And then I'm talking to Kujo and things get more heated. We get another email from their lawyer saying, if you won't agree to our terms, we will take 100% of the song. That's where we stand on it. That is final.
Wow.
If you do not agree to this retroactive master split, we're taking everything. Wow. So I messaged back. I'm going to show you that email. I messaged back, essentially summarizing this email. I just say, I'm going to take down the song myself. I'm fed up of this. I'm fed up of you threatening me with my own song that I poured myself into. I've explained what it means to me. I explained to both of them what it means to me. So I'm
what it means to
I'm
your
taking
fans.
it down myself. I don't want to let them win over this. I've been in situations in the music industry before where I had to concede because I was broke and I just had to let a powerful greed.
This is really why I do want to have both Kujo and Ren on the show, because I have questions. Is Kujo going to be back paid the publishing of whatever the percentage is that is due pursuant to the contract? Did Kujo have a basis for filing this copyright strike? And then also, what is the basis for demanding the masters? Because what I was going to say is, I go, look, there's a theory under the law where it's called anticipatory breach. So if one party who is supposed to get paid X, Y, and Z comes back and says that's not going to be good enough anymore, even though they already did the deal, and they go, I actually want more. I want this other thing. It's anticipatory breach because they're saying I'm not going to honor the agreement, even if you do, and I actually want more money. And so under the law, sometimes it excuses the performance of the other side. AKA, it would excuse Ren from having to do anything further, including pay publishing. This is so interesting. Like I'm trying to understand and be fair to both sides here, but I need more information.
And I know this is not the same situation. It's not like Kujo is like this in this huge position of power here, but how they've dealt with this whole situation was ridiculous. So I was like, rather than bend to this leverage and just out of principle, I'm just going to take the song off. And it's ironic, man, because the song is about greed, and it hurts me a lot that it's down now. It proper hurts me, man. I can't stress that enough because of what the song was and what the song meant to me, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So I sent these emails. I also sent a mass email out to everybody, the publisher, Kujo, the lawyers involved, just saying how disappointed I am across the board, even from people on my side. I was just disappointed at how this whole situation been dealt with, because ultimately at the core of this situation, the only person getting proper hurt financially from this is me. Right? Because of my hard work that I've done to promote this music, because of my story and how that's been exploited. I'm the person who will suffer future losses for the earnings.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is completely spiraled out of control. Like, if I was representing either of them, like in the beginning, you go, okay, so if we're representing Kujo, and we go, there's been an alleged breach of contract, and there are monies that are owed, and now we've been chasing around opposing counsel, so Ren's attorney, for a year, and I've had to pay my attorney, right? If I'm Kujo, I've had to pay my attorney, and now I've been damaged because I had to chase you around to get paid and to get you to perform on the contract that you signed. So we have our little coming together to Ren, just be like, look, you got to take ownership of this. Like, you hired this guy, and if you didn't pay, or the third-party publisher didn't pay or whatever, maybe we need to have a conversation about some kind of additional something should be done for the harm, whatever that is, financial damage, time, emotional distress that Kujo has had to experience. But this thing just escalated. It resulted in a copyright strike, all the public back and forth. And then obviously for an artist, I feel him so very much with just the connection with his music. I make music as well. I'm an independent artist. And, you know, for something of mine to be taken down by someone else, or I just take it down because I'm like, I just can't get this situation squashed, it would definitely break my heart as well.
Regardless of earnings, fuck earnings for a second. That song I was proud of. What it meant to people, I was proud of. The messages that I get from people every day, telling me like how much they relate to the song, how much it helps them through difficult times, you know, like that's gone now, that's taken away from people. So yeah, I'm pissed off. Anyway, so I sent that email out. Me and Kujo share some pretty heated words. If you're a petty person, you'll probably like to pause on some of this. It's ridiculous. One of the things that took the piss the most that he said when I just lost my cool at this point. I lost all patience. One of the funny things he said after all this was like, if you really cared about your fans, then you would leave them the song. So he was turning it around on me when he'd used the song as leverage. He said, if you cared about your fans, you leave it up for them. Then he said, I'm letting my pride and ego get in the way because I'm not paying him money that I didn't think he deserved for selling a stolen beat, right? He's saying that that's my ego. It's my ego's fault. And then he's just saying, he kept saying, just pay me, let me get my bag, I want the money, just give me my money. I explained to him again, like, dude, I'm not the person that pays you the money. I've explained this to you so many times. It's the publisher. And he's like, all right, cool. It finally seems to sink in that, like, I haven't stolen this man's money. I haven't taken a penny of this man's money. The publisher was at fault for not registering it properly, and they're resolving that, and then he'll get his money from the publishing. I don't want a penny of that. I don't care about that money. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever. He deserves a bit of money for making that part of the beat. Sure. He shouldn't have stolen a sample and sold it to me.
One of the questions I have for them as well, because at the beginning of the video, I think Ren had said 50% is being sought by the original publisher for the sample that's now in the song. And so, you know, in their negotiation, who was to cover that, right? So if I was representing Ren, I would have argued that Kujo's side would have to bear that 50%, but we're dealing with 15% at a dilution. So just meaning there's 100% of the pie. And so taking 15% would leave Ren and Kujo at 25% each. So if it was 50% out of Kujo's 50%, it ultimately would result in Kujo being 25% and the other publisher being 25%. But I'm curious, because there hasn't been too much discussion about that, about how they're going to handle the other publisher.
Theoretically, he could have all of his publishing taken away, but even after all of this, I still agreed to give him a bit of a publishing split, just to shut him up. So it's like, I could have been even more petty and dug my feet in there, but I just want this situation over with. So the song's down. The funniest comment that I'm going to end this on, because this is going to be some album artwork, by the way. Single artwork, sorry. This is the next announcement. He goes, alright, peace. Your music sucks, by the way.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Which is really funny, considering, you know, the message earlier where he told me that it was an honor, or it was like, it was really good to work with me, you know. Funny. It's funny, hypocritical. Funny. But yeah, sure, my music sucks, brother. Cool. That's going to be the single artwork.
And I don't know if they would share this about, you know, how much has actually been earned from the publishing, how much is, you know, Kujo owed or that he's going to be receiving, and then how much have they each spent on their attorneys. Because back to my original, when these things come up, my first instinct as an attorney is not to start threatening to sue and all this, just to make the situation more complicated. It's what can we do to get this resolved as quickly as possible so that my artist, musician, client doesn't have to waste time and energy and vibrations on this thing. And they can get back to making their art. I mean, for both of them, right?
Leads me to my last point, ladies and gentlemen. I'm releasing a song about this whole situation, and it's dedicated to Kujo.
Uh-oh.
And it's coming out next week. It's coming out a week today. It's called Kujo Beatdown.
Oh boy.
And I love it. We made an amazing video for it. I made a beat. By the way, the beat has no unlicensed samples in it. I made the whole thing myself. I wrote all the lyrics myself, all the beats are mine. And that'll be going up on YouTube and Spotify next week. I'll also be recreating Sickboi because those lyrics and that arrangement is mine. So for the anniversary of Sickboi the album, you will be getting Sickboi, the beat, remade, bigger and better than ever, without Kujo's input on it.
Oh man, so many things here. So when he does drop the song, and here's why I hope that they come on the channel and say all the things so I can get these clarifications made. But if Ren's going to remake it, right? So how is he remaking it? Is he remaking the original sample that was kind of the problem, right? Or part of the problem in the first place? I'm so curious. But also in the realm of, it sounds like this isn't a kind of song where we're saying a bunch of stuff but not really naming someone. He said the title of the song is Kujo Beatdown. Interesting.
And then there's also a third song dropping. There's a little bit more positive. Next week's song is angry, alright? I'm just going to warn you there. And before Kujo and his, before they start complaining about blah, 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 artistic license here, you know what? I've said my piece. I'm not interested in ruining your life, bro, but I felt like I needed to get it out somehow. And so I got it out somehow. And I hope you're watching this, man. And I hope you enjoy the song, because it's dedicated to you, baby. Anyway, guys, I know that this was a long video, but I wanted there to be no doubt as to where everything stood in this situation.
Well, let's recap on where everything stands in this situation. So we have the claim by Kujo that he was not paid for his share of the publishing. He's claimed that claiming he wants to be paid for and from the masters, from the portion of the masters, the royalties, whether he's entitled that. He wants to be paid a portion from the actual master earnings. He also filed a copyright claim against the video. We don't know if there was any valid, infringement basis for that copyright claim. As far as clearing the sample and paying the publisher of that particular sample, we don't know what's going on with that either. And then we have, of course, all the defamation claims back and forth, including that there's now a song called Kujo Beatdown coming at us in a few days.
And why you don't have a song that means so much to so many people and means so much to me. But there will be a revamped version of that song coming very soon, guys. And if you've made it this far, thank you. Sincerely. And I hope there can be no doubt as to this situation. Thank you.
All right, guys, that was a big one, and I hope we all learned something here. I'm really excited to speak with both Kujo and Ren and get a little more information, make sure I have a clear understanding of both sides of this legal battle. If you guys are excited for that, give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle.